Mindset before reality means understanding that the way you see life determines how life shows itself to you. It's realizing that before anything changes around you, something must change within you. When you wake up in the morning, your mind is already painting the picture of how your day will go. If you expect it to be heavy, it will feel heavy. If you expect something good to happen, opportunities begin to reveal themselves. The world doesn't just respond to your actions, it responds to your attitude, your energy, and your belief system. Every great turnaround begins not in circumstances, but in the quiet transformation of a person's mind. There are people who spend their entire lives waiting for conditions to be perfect before they believe in themselves. They wait for the promotion, the validation, the open door. But the truth is, those things rarely come to the ones who wait passively. They come to the ones who already act like they belong there. The person who believes, it's already working for me, walks differently, speaks differently, approaches problems differently. They move with quiet confidence because they've already accepted in their heart what their eyes haven't seen yet. That mindset doesn't ignore reality, it reshapes it. Your thoughts create patterns, and those patterns create outcomes. When you think in fear, you find more to be afraid of. When you think in faith, you find more reasons to trust. You attract the frequency you operate on. Life has a way of testing your belief, not to break you, but to prove to you that your mindset was never supposed to depend on what's happening. It was supposed to define what happens next. That's why when someone says, act as if everything always works out for you, it's not about pretending. It's about training your spirit to stay aligned with purpose even when nothing looks certain. There will be moments when you're walking through storms and it feels like the ground is shifting beneath your feet. That's when mindset becomes your greatest weapon. Because in those moments, you can't control the weather, but you can control your posture in it. You can still stand tall. You can still believe that something in this pain is positioning you for growth. You can choose to see loss as learning, failure as feedback, waiting as preparation. That's the power of a mind that's rooted before the reality has caught up. The most dangerous thing in life isn't failure, it's a defeated mindset. Because once your mind gives up, your body follows, your decisions follow, your future follows. But when your mind stays focused, when it keeps saying, this will work out for me, even when there's no evidence, life eventually catches up to that belief. Your mindset is the soil where your future grows. If the soil is filled with doubt, nothing lasting will take root. But if it's filled with belief, gratitude, and resilience, then no matter how long it takes, your reality will begin to reflect what your mind decided long ago. Faith over fear is a decision you make every single day, often in silence, often when no one else can see the war going on inside you. It's not something you say just because it sounds good. It's something you live when everything around you feels uncertain. Fear screams for your attention. It tells you to stop, to play it safe, to protect yourself from disappointment. Faith whispers, keep going. There's something on the other side of this. And sometimes that whisper is all you have to hold on to. But if you listen closely enough, it's all you need. Because faith doesn't require you to see the whole path, it just asks you to take the next step. Every person who's ever overcome something great has faced fear head on. Fear of failure, fear of loss, fear of not being enough. But they also discovered that fear only grows when you feed it with your attention. The moment you shift that attention to faith, everything changes. Faith doesn't eliminate fear instantly, but it shrinks it. It makes it smaller in the light of what you believe. Faith says, even if I can't control what's happening, I can control how I respond. And that small decision to choose trust over worry, to choose belief over panic, is where strength is built. When life hits hard, fear tries to convince you that you've been abandoned, that the struggle means you're losing. But faith interprets the same moment differently. Faith says, maybe this challenge is exactly what I needed to grow. The same storm that makes one person quit can make another person rise. It all depends on which voice you choose to believe. You can't stop fear from showing up, but you can decide it won't drive the car. You can feel it, acknowledge it, and still move forward anyway. That's what real courage looks like, not the absence of fear, but movement in spite of it. Sometimes faith looks like getting up again after the same door closed twice. Sometimes it looks like working in silence while no one notices. Sometimes it's choosing to believe that the delay is not denial. Fear wants you to measure progress by what you can see, but faith teaches you to measure it by what you're becoming. Every test you survive builds a deeper level of trust in yourself and in something greater guiding your path. When you've seen enough storms pass, you start to realize that what looked like endings were actually beginnings in disguise. Faith over fear is about alignment. It's about saying, I don't know how this will work out, but I believe it will. That belief gives you peace in chaos, clarity in confusion, and strength in uncertainty. Fear drains your energy before the battle even begins. Faith gives it back. Fear tells you to retreat, but faith reminds you that you've already come too far to turn back now. Fear focuses on what you stand to lose, but faith reminds you of everything you've already overcome. When you walk by faith, you stop chasing control and start trusting purpose. That's when life begins to shift in your favor, not because everything is easy, but because you finally decided to believe that no matter what happens, it's all working for you. Process over outcome means learning to fall in love with the journey instead of worshiping the result. It's easy to get caught up in the finish line, to think that happiness or fulfillment will only come once you've achieved something big. But the truth is, real growth happens in the unseen moments, the repetition, the small habits, the nights you want to quit but still show up. The process molds you into the kind of person who can handle the success you're chasing. Because if you skip the process, you won't have the strength, the discipline, or the gratitude to sustain what you work for. The process is where you become who you're supposed to be. So many people want the reward without the work, the blessing without the burden. They want to be great, but they don't want to go through what greatness requires. The process is uncomfortable because it exposes your weaknesses. It challenges your patience, your consistency, and your faith. But that's where your power is built. The outcome is just a reflection of what the process has already done in you. When you understand that, you stop rushing. You stop comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You start focusing on mastering the moment in front of you, knowing that every small step counts. There will be times when the process feels slow, when nothing seems to be moving. That's where most people give up, not because they aren't capable, but because they mistake silence for failure. But silence is part of the process. It's where the roots grow deeper before the fruit ever appears. You might not see results, but something is happening beneath the surface. The lessons you're learning, the character you're building, the strength you're developing, it's all part of the foundation that will hold your future together when the outcome finally comes. When you focus only on the outcome, your emotions rise and fall with your results. One win makes you feel unstoppable. One loss makes you question everything. But when your focus is the process, you stay grounded. You can lose today and still know you're growing. You can fail publicly but win privately because you learned something that made you better. The process teaches you to value effort over applause, progress over perfection, consistency over comfort. That's the difference between people who fade after one success and those who build something that lasts. The process humbles you. It reminds you that everything meaningful takes time. It forces you to look inward and ask, who am I becoming while I wait? Because if the outcome comes too soon, it might destroy you instead of define you. But if you let the process do its work, you'll reach the destination not just with results, but with wisdom, strength, and gratitude. When you start honoring the process, the outcome becomes a byproduct, not the goal. And the beautiful thing about that is when you truly commit to the process, the outcome always takes care of itself. The energy of expectation is one of the most powerful forces a person can carry. It's the invisible confidence that something good is always on the way, even when nothing in your current situation looks like it. Expectation is not wishful thinking, it's a mindset, a vibration, an inner knowing that what you desire is already aligning for you. When you live with that kind of energy, it changes how you show up. You walk into rooms differently. You speak with a different tone. You move with a quiet conviction that things are unfolding exactly as they should. That kind of energy doesn't beg or chase, it attracts. It doesn't force outcomes, it allows them. Because expectation isn't about control, it's about trust. The energy of expectation is rooted in belief, not circumstance. Anybody can feel positive when life is easy. But when you can expect goodness while walking through uncertainty, that's when your energy becomes magnetic. It's the kind of mindset that says, I might not know how, but I know it's coming. You stop seeing delays as denials and start seeing them as divine timing. You stop asking, why me? And start saying, prepare me. That's when life starts to respond differently because you're no longer operating from fear or lack, you're operating from faith and abundance. The expectation you carry determines the opportunities you attract. Every situation carries the potential to either discourage you or develop you, and the energy you bring decides which one it becomes. When you expect failure, your mind starts to find reasons why things won't work. When you expect progress, you start noticing small signs of growth that others overlook. That's why two people can go through the same challenge and come out completely different. One sees defeat, the other sees direction. One carries doubt, the other carries expectation. Life gives back to each what they believe they deserve. That's the quiet law that never changes. The energy of expectation also influences the people around you. When you expect greatness from yourself, others start expecting it too. Your belief gives permission for others to believe. That's why leaders who carry unwavering expectation can transform teams, families, and communities, because their conviction becomes contagious. It inspires movement. It lifts the atmosphere. You don't even have to speak. Sometimes people can feel it. They can sense that you're walking with purpose, that you're aligned with something bigger than the present moment. Living with expectation doesn't mean you won't face disappointment. It means you won't let disappointment change your posture. It means you'll keep showing up with gratitude, even when the results don't come as fast as you hoped. Because the moment you lower your expectation, you lower your energy. And once your energy drops, your reality follows. Expectation is the standard that pulls your life forward. When you start expecting the best, not demanding it, but believing it, you start seeing blessings in places you used to see burdens. You start realizing that the world isn't against you, it's responding to you. The energy of expectation turns ordinary moments into opportunities, and that's when life starts to feel like it's working out for you, not by chance, but by choice. Resilience in the unknown is what separates those who only survive from those who truly grow. It's the strength to keep standing when the ground beneath you shifts, the courage to move forward when you have no map, and the discipline to keep showing up when everything in you wants to walk away. Life will always bring seasons where the answers aren't clear, where you can't see what's next, and where every step feels uncertain. In those moments, resilience is not about pretending to be fearless, it's about feeling the fear and still moving anyway. It's the quiet decision to trust that even in confusion, there's purpose unfolding. The unknown tests you in ways that comfort never will. When everything is predictable, you don't have to stretch your faith, you don't have to dig deep, you don't have to find out who you really are. But when things fall apart, when your plans crumble, when life gives you more questions than answers, that's when you discover the kind of strength that can't be taught, only earned. Resilience is built in the dark, not the light. It's shaped in the silence when no one's watching, in the tears you wipe away alone, in the prayers that sound more like whispers than victories. That's where character is born. The unknown is not your enemy, it's your training ground. It's where you learn to stop relying on certainty and start relying on faith. It's where you stop depending on what's visible and start trusting what's possible. Every challenge that confuses you is also preparing you. Every delay is strengthening your patience. Every disappointment is refining your perspective. The unknown strips away what's shallow so that what's real can rise. Resilience grows in that space between who you were and who you're becoming, between what you planned and what's actually unfolding. There's a peace that comes when you stop fighting uncertainty and start flowing with it. When you realize that not knowing doesn't mean you're lost, it means you're growing. Because if you already had all the answers, there'd be no room for faith. You wouldn't need to evolve. You wouldn't need to trust. Sometimes the unknown is the greatest gift because it forces you to live in the present, to rely on your instincts, to believe in something bigger than the plan you wrote for yourself. That's where resilience becomes real. It's no longer about holding on to control, but holding on to belief. Resilience in the unknown is about grace. Grace to keep learning. Grace to fail forward. Grace to give yourself permission to be uncertain but not broken. Every storm you walk through without quitting adds another layer of strength to your soul. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that the seasons you feared the most were the ones that shaped you the deepest. You'll see that the unknown was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to rebuild you, refine you, and reveal what was always inside you. The unshakable resilience to rise no matter what comes your way. Becoming who you believe you are begins long before the world recognizes it. It starts in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when the only voice you have is the one in your head. The beliefs you hold about yourself create the boundaries of your potential. If you believe you're average, you'll act like it. If you believe you're meant for more, you'll start moving like it, even before anyone agrees with you. Every decision, every habit, every conversation is guided by that inner image of who you think you are. You can't rise higher than the level of belief you have about yourself, and you can't outperform a mind that keeps doubting its own worth. Becoming who you believe you are means aligning your actions with your identity, not your circumstances. You don't wait for success to start thinking like a winner, you start thinking like one and let the success catch up. Most people let the outside world define them. They let failure convince them they're not capable, rejection convince them they're not enough, and setbacks convince them they're not chosen. But identity is not built by what happens to you, it's built by what you decide to do with what happens. When you believe you're destined for something greater, life starts to unfold in ways that confirm it. Not because everything suddenly becomes easy, but because your belief gives you the persistence to keep going when others quit. There's power in deciding who you are before the world labels you. The person who believes they're strong doesn't crumble when pressure comes, they adapt. The one who believes they're chosen doesn't stop when doors close, they build new ones. The one who believes they're capable doesn't need permission to begin, they just start. That's what separates the dreamers from the doers. You can't wait until you feel ready, because belief is what creates readiness. You have to act in alignment with the person you're becoming, not the person you used to be. Every time you choose discipline over doubt, purpose over comfort, growth over excuses, you reinforce that identity. There will always be people who doubt your belief, but that's because they haven't seen what you've seen. They don't know the fire that burns inside you. They don't understand the vision that keeps you awake at night. You're not here to convince them, you're here to prove to yourself that your belief was real. And the moment you start walking like it's already yours, opportunities begin to recognize you. People begin to treat you differently. Life begins to rise to the standard of your expectation. You don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. Becoming who you believe you are is a lifelong process of alignment, courage, and conviction. It's waking up every day and deciding, this is who I am, even if my circumstances haven't caught up yet. Because eventually, they will. When belief becomes your foundation, you stop chasing validation. You stop waiting for the world to tell you you're enough. You just become it boldly, quietly, consistently, until your reality reflects the truth you've been living all along.